Thank you for taking a moment to introduce yourselves. Just want to let you know I'm coming to you all from Washington, D.C., well, Baltimore, Maryland. Just finished the advanced CTE fall meeting. So my background's a little different and hopefully this will go well, but I do only have one screen. So I've got some help here to help me monitor chat and get you guys the resources that you need. So just please have a little patience in that regard. I've had a couple more people join, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw the agenda in the chat one more time. And then I'll turn it over to Janelle and Celia. Who would like to go first? Okay.
Yeah, I'm also in DC and I have to check out of my room very close soon. So if you don't mind, I'll try to go first so I can quickly check out of the hotel and get ready for the fun 17-hour adventure back to Oregon. Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you could be here today. I asked Melinda, what do you think would be good for me to share with this group? And she says, well, you know, I'm not sure all of them are aware of all the things that we have going on in CTE for the coming year. So I'm going to talk a little bit, and I'm sure Celia will update you on the higher ed, but some of our joint work and K-12 focused work on implementing the CTE state plan. You're going to see some updates of what we accomplished last year, but I wanted to make sure I gave you a preview of some of the exciting work that's happening this year. So I'm going to start with our Career Connected Learning Initiative, which includes this general career exploration and awareness, as well as career training and preparation and the work-based learning. So we have a lot of really exciting work going on because we were able to supplement our CTE federal funding with $2 million worth of recovery funding to support this initiative. And so for middle school career exploration and expansion, we have over 100 schools that are going to be participating in U-Science. And U-Science is a way to get youth and also adults to explore their aptitudes in careers. So not just, you know, the silly question we ask middle school kids, what are you good at? Middle schoolers are not the place necessarily to know what they're good at or what they're interested in, but actually take them through some games and tell them what, you know, hey, you've got some really good aptitudes in this. So we are expanding that. We are also expanding our career journeys videos, which you got the chance to watch at your last meeting. And we're going to have 20 new videos popping up any day now on that website. Again, these are going to be materials that schools can use, adult centers can use. They're really a great resource for career exploration and awareness. And we are also making Oregon career information systems available to all Oregonians for free. And that new interface, it's going to look much more user-friendly and be a lot more easy to use. Mentors, parents, job, employers, schools, advisors will all be able to use that tool with youth or adults that they want to have the opportunity to explore career opportunities and career pathways in Oregon. So that will be available and free to use for all Oregonians, and we'll be launching that next month, which is Career Development Month. So we're excited to have that finally come true. We've also been working on, and we'll be working on work-based learning in partnership with BOLI and some others. SAFE, we're going to be producing some videos and information sheets for employers on how to best provide work-based learning experiences, as well as we've updated our guidebook for our K-12 educators on how to implement work-based learning and support equitable work-based learning opportunities. And we have been hiring our career connected learning systems navigators in our community colleges. Thank you for those of you who are involved in this process. I think we have 5 currently hired, and we will be having a summit with our newly hired career connected learning navigators next week to try to onboard them and start to build that system. So really exciting news in career connected learning. We also know that teacher retention and recruitment, staffing shortages is a huge issue. And so we are going to be launching or relaunching a CTE mentor program for new CTE teachers, and that is new this year. We're also partnering with TSPC and others to think about potential apprenticeship programs in education, and maybe Margaret can give more details if people have questions about that. But we're really excited to provide some supports to CTE teachers across Oregon as they come into our family. We continue to work on our statewide programs of study, and we're going to have 4 that we're rolling out and that schools can apply to be part of next spring. And that is the Education Early Learning Program of Study, a law enforcement, automotive, and our natural resources. So those are going to be 4 new statewide programs of study that we're going to be rolling out this year. And our Perkins grant process, so Perkins, our federal CTE funding, is going to be a new system this year. We are integrating it with other K-12 initiatives. And so every school district and every community college in the state is going through a community engagement and needs assessment process this fall. So if you are a community partner, there's actually an invite that I think Melinda sent out for a meeting that's coming up, so you can learn more about how you can get involved with your school district in sharing your voice about what matters in your education system. So we're excited to have CTE be a part of that broader discussion around school improvement initiatives across the state. Are there any questions kind of about some of what we're focusing on? The other one is automotive. Larry, I see you in the text. Finally, the one other thing I know Celia and Donna Llewellyn, the Director of Community College and Workforce Development, and I are working on is, we know that we are going to get a lot of new policymakers in Oregon starting in January. It's going to be a really big shift in new leadership across the state. So we are really making some moves to figure out how we can best onboard new policymakers and explain to them what CTE is and give them some foundational knowledge about why CTE matters in the state, how we work together, how we partner, and the benefits of career technical education for Oregonians. So I would be, if anyone is interested, I'm hoping that you all help share that message with new policymakers about the value of CTE and the value of partnering secondary to post-secondary and building pipelines to workforce. So I'm happy if there's any of you who would like to help, work on some of those foundational educational materials that we will be presenting, or have an interest in helping support that message as advisory council members. We are happy to have your support in helping to communicate what we do, why what we do matters, and the benefit for Oregonians about this work. And Celia, I think you're muted if you were talking.
I started talking, but I caught myself. Thank you, Janelle. Good morning, everyone. Celia Nunez here. I would like to provide you just with some updates for Higher Education Coordinating Commission. First and foremost, one of the items that is happening at the HEC and is keeping all of us quite busy is Future Ready Oregon. So we're not the infancy, but I'm saying we're probably entering into the toddler stage where it's just keeping us all busy. If you aren't aware, Jennifer Purcell is actually the director for Future Ready Oregon at the HEC. So we now have an office that's established to deal with all Future Ready Oregon funding. Carrie Thomas, who was formerly with the Oregon Workforce Investment Office, OE, has now been promoted to Future Ready Oregon Project Manager. We have Shali Hodgson. So a few of you know Shali. Shali joined us just about few months ago. She's actually going to serve in the CCW's Future Ready Oregon point person for us. Julia Steinberger has actually accepted the director for OE. So very excited to see her in that leadership role. Future Ready Oregon team is working to hire and onboard their new staff. We have several policy analysts that are being brought into the team and build the capacity for grant management and reporting. In regards to HEC actually received 145 applications for the Workforce Ready grant. So those applications have been evaluated and successful grantees will be notified in the coming weeks. So we're all excited to see where the funding is going to be placed. The Prosperity 10,000 funds have been distributed to local workforce development boards, and they are then distributing the funds locally. The Industry Consortia project is in the planning phase. The Workforce and Talent Development Board has contracted with the Woolsey Group to support this work. If you're not familiar with them, the Woolsey Group has done significant work in Oregon to support capacity building and sector strategies. So some of you, I think, have some sort of either knowledge or background in that work of sector strategies. So the Workforce Benefit Navigators work has not started yet in that arena, but we anticipate having more to share with you in the coming months. With regards to our areas of responsibility for Future Ready Oregon at CCWD, we've got post-secondary career pathways and credit for prior learning. Post-secondary career pathways, the recent news is we did hire our career pathways coordinator, Kyle Thomas. Kyle comes to us to HEC from Clackamas Community College, where he led the Career Center, supported STEP, and was a member of the Pathways to Opportunity team. Community colleges have been awarded their funds. I've been real busy signing contracts. In the career pathways applications, what we've noticed that there was a strong connection to integrated education and training, as well as STEP. 10 of the 17 colleges are using funds to support or expand IET, and 11 colleges are using the funds to support or expand services to STEP participation. The alignment is supporting cross-campus collaboration and leveraging resources. In regards to credit for prior learning, of the 24 public institutions that were eligible for the funds, 14 community colleges and 5 public universities applied, which was a total of 10 million was awarded. Most projects included activities in these three areas: development of CPL assessment criteria, staff training and professional development, and student recruitment and engagement with priority populations. The actual overwhelming majority of grantees were focused on expanding CPL, creating transparent systems, increasing staff capacity to support CPL and the creation and distribution of marketing materials to engage with priority populations. So this is a work is also connected to the credit for prior learning expansion in the Strengthening Community College, the SCC grant, and 7 of the 9 SCC consortium colleges were awarded Future Ready CPL funding. Contracts are in progress. Literally, I feel like I'm signing one a day anymore. And Shelley is setting up collaborative spaces for grantees in Basecamp, as there's a significant overlap in project activities. Also, I'm here alone, but Luis and Casey have been super busy. They're at the Advanced CTE conference with Donna and Kelly, but they've also been conducting their community college on-site visits. And they've completed several of them. Several of them are still to come. And I think that's about it. And I will stop and ask if anybody has any questions of me. Great. Thanks, everyone. Back to you, Melinda.
Thanks, Janelle and Celia. We will move now into updates on our subcommittees. And I have Elaine on the schedule first, but you don't have to go first if you don't want to. It's up to you.
No, that's fine.
You don't want to go
I think-
first? Okay.
No,
I'll go.
it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no, our update is really quick. I think that I haven't been available. I've missed quite a few meetings over the summer. I was helping or had the opportunity to help a family member who was navigating end of life through that process. So I'm just kind of back into work and to things now. I think we've struggled as a group to find our meeting time and cadence that works for us. And for some of us, there were people who dropped out because of what is happening with work and life. And so I think we're at this point of like trying to see how we can commit to the work and move it forward. I know that one area of interest for many of our members is around some of the work that Melinda has been doing to put a work group together around the access and barrier removal for rural and suburban regions for CTE. So there's quite a bit of interest in that. And we'll be learning more about that and moving that work forward. But honestly, right now we're trying to find a time that works for all of us, given competing priorities, to look at the other two initiatives that were important to this group and to provide more detail. So hopefully next time we meet, we'll have more to update you all on that.
Thanks, Elaine. Sorry, I had to unmute myself and had to find the screen to do that. So I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the other committees updates. Charlie couldn't be here today, so he sent me some notes from the alignment group, and just want to kind of remind everybody that we did have did make a legislative recommendation around alignment for the creation of a dynamic, interactive, multi-level map that would allow an audience, various audiences, the ability to inquire and then have kind of a tailored map that would lead them to coordinated information, locally, regionally, statewide, and possibly even nationally. One of the things that the group has determined is there are some districts, regions that are doing this well, but it's they're hoping to have something that's a bit more statewide. And then couple of things he just wanted to share. And again, he has I linked his full notes right beneath these bullet points. You're welcome to kind of peruse that, but some high level, he just wanted to share some information around the Oregon Essential Skills. It's gaining a lot of traction. We're knitting those in with the statewide programs of study that Janelle mentioned. And then there's a coordination project to help weave the skills into education and workforce even more. And he is committing that he will keep the council updated on the progress of that. And then the system of sharing and communication group. Again, we also made a legislative recommendation to support the investment of ongoing marketing around the value of CTE and the pathways that are available to students across the state. I think, again, we've come to the conclusion that there's a lot of pockets of things that are being done across the state, but we've kind of wanted it to be a bit more of a collaboration and things that could be sort of ongoing versus, a pocket of something great that happens here and a pocket here. Because as you're probably aware, with marketing, it needs to be sort of an ongoing, continual process with messages that are tailored to a variety of audiences. And so we were thinking about suggesting a more coordinated effort on that for folks. And then also for some of our smaller schools to be able to kind of pull on that, because maybe they don't have the same level of resources that some of the bigger schools do. So this is another area that we were hoping that could be a more coordinated statewide effort on that. The other thing we're looking at is just to explore ways to bolster what is currently being done. Because as we know, we might not be able to get our vision of an entire team to help folks do that marketing statewide, but so we're looking at other ways to sort of bolster some of the wonderful work that is already being done across the state. And then I haven't forgotten about the student advisory team. We're still trying to we're talking with our current students that are already on this council to get some ideas about how to best recruit for that. We've created some marketing materials and things like that. The area that we were still trying to explore was compensation for student time and potentially travel at some point if we were to bring the group together in person. And then word has sort of spread that we are interested in creating this student advisory team. And so we got connected with another group that's also interested in creating a student advisory, and that's the Workforce Talent and Investment Board. So we've had a couple of conversations there about exploring a partnership to create a larger student advisory team that could advise on more than just CTE. So we are exploring that at this time. Does anybody have any questions about those two updates? All right. I am just going to do a really quick plug for those of you that maybe aren't already on a subcommittee. You know, it is our hope that folks can get an opportunity to spend a little bit more time with some of the topics and dig into some of the things that are currently being done, looking at you know, areas of growth and making suggestions that this council and the state directors can explore. And our hope is that folks will be on a subcommittee as a member of this council. So if you aren't on one, please do reach out to me and I can get you connected with the co-chairs or the chairs of any of those subcommittees. All right. And I'm going to flip back to what's happening next so I could. Okay. Yes, a conversation around our meetings for next year. So you probably have noticed that we don't currently have any meetings on the calendar for 2023. I did want to have a conversation with folks and get folks' input on whether this time frame is still something that works for folks. Currently, we meet on the third Wednesday of the month during the months that are listed in the notes that I can't see now, but I'm going to try to move that. There we go. Yeah, January, April, July, and October. And then I did want to just open up a conversation of whether folks were interested at all in potentially having a once a year in-person meeting and potentially rotating the location for that. So I just kind of wanted to open it up now for conversation around our meeting times for 2023. And Linda and Jen, if you could help maybe capture the thoughts as they come up, that'd be great. So how do folks feel about the time frame? Does it still work for folks? And what do you feel about having an in-person meeting? I'm seeing thumbs up for the time frame. Anyone whose times, well, clearly we don't have the whole council here right now, so I might want to ask, I guess, some of the folks who weren't able to make it today, but for those that are here, this seems to work. What are your thoughts around having an in-person meeting once a year?
If we were to do an in-person meeting, would we have more to talk about than the amount of time we have right now? Like, how long would that in-person meeting be? Would we be gathering for 2 hours or would we spend more time? Because I'm just wondering, some of us would have to drive a long ways to be there.
Yeah, and my thought is that we would spend more time. We'd have more time to do maybe some of the things that we're trying to find time to do, you know, on a monthly basis where folks aren't finding time to be able to connect with one another and talk more deeply around different topics. So, I mean, if you can imagine that the idea of having a statewide advisory council came pre-COVID. And I think the thought was to actually have in-person meetings with the council initially. We sort of had to pivot and do, you know, these Zoom meetings. And of course, 2-hour Zoom meetings is about as much as people want to participate in. And so that's sort of how we came up with the subcommittee kind of structure for this time for the interim. But yes, we would and I would have your help in creating what that agenda would look like and what all we could be talking about and discussing during that time frame. But yes, we would make it worth your while to come to an in-person meeting.
Melinda, speaking on behalf of those who are in the farther flung areas of the state who might have difficulty with traveling to an in-person, would we be able to have a Zoom connect for them to the live in-person meeting? I know that's a technology that's developing. Is that on the drawing board, would you think?
Yes, we would always want to try to provide a Zoom option for folks who would not be able to join us in person.
One thing that occurs to me is that it could be an opportunity to think about alignment across the entire system. So you might be able to have this be a meeting around CTE and Future Ready and STEM, and really think about all of those places that sort of intersect around career connected learning, and maybe have an opportunity to make it, I guess just a day or a half a day or whatever it is, where all of those partners could come together and understand the work we're doing across the system. It'd be a lot more work, but I think that could make it a really valuable experience, as opposed to maybe just having our regular meeting.
I like that, Kyle, because there's a lot of cross intersecting and collaboration happening, and it seems like, as we've touched on some of those things, depending on where each of us are in any one of those areas, we have limited understanding and capacity to really grasp what the rest of the big picture looks like. So if we had some time to more fully connect around those other areas, that could be beneficial.
And Megan, I see your suggestion that would be great. It would be an opportunity to potentially piggyback on an existing meeting that a lot of us would potentially be at. That is something that we could explore as well.
When organized CTE is in Bend, which is more centrally located sometimes than a Multnomah County or Marion County focus meeting.
Any other thoughts on this topic before we move to the next piece? Sounds like our current timeframes seem to work, at least for those that are here, and then the potential of exploring an in-person meeting. Sounds like there's some interest to explore the possibilities around that. Okay.
It might
Yes.
also be good if we could do it on an in-service day when some students could be there, or also alumni, CTE alumni who could come and tell their stories. And if we can have more student voice when they don't have to be in school.
That's a great point, Monica. Thank you. Yes, the two students that we're working with to help brainstorm how we're going to create this student advisory team. Yeah, the three of us typically meet in the evenings, just so that they don't interrupt their class schedules. But yes, absolutely, we would want to consider that option. Actually, one of the students was going to come today. They were all ready for it, but then they had their wisdom teeth taken out. It's a little bit of discomfort there, so they weren't able to join us today. All right. Any other comments on that before we move to the next topic? All right. If you have any other input, don't hesitate to reach out to me. We will be kind of figuring out what this will look like at our next leadership team meeting with the co-chairs of Carla and Charlie, and then also our new secretary, Whitney. So we'll have more of a conversation around what that might look like. But thank you for your input. Okay. Moving on to the next topic. Yes. Okay. So I just wanted to plant a few seeds. We are getting to the time frame when we need to start thinking about council membership. We do have a few folks that have shifted positions and have moved on to greener pastures. So we do have a couple of openings for the selected membership positions. The ex officios, we are usually able to find replacement. People are appointed to be replacements in that area. But for the membership that went through the nomination and selection process. We have a couple of openings currently. And then I will also be getting feedback from you all on what your plans are to continue for next year. And we're hoping that most, if not all of you, will choose to continue, but there might be some that understandably have too much going on and might not be able to participate in the council. And so we could potentially have some additional openings. And so we will be going through the nomination and selection process again. So I just want to kind of plant the seeds because we would love your help in recruiting. If you think of folks that would be great for this council, again, we're going to go through the nomination process first, or you can just directly encourage folks to apply when that interest form is available as well. So I just kind of wanted to plant those seeds. So be thinking about whether you would like to continue on the committee, the council, and then also thinking of those who you might want to nominate to be on the council. So I just wanted to plant that seed because we will be needing to replace at least the positions that are currently open on the council. And I'll have more information on that. I still am trying to reach those individuals, so I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I have a feeling that those folks are no longer going to be on the council, but I don't have final confirmation on that yet. So I didn't want to share that before it was time. Okay, any questions on that part?
Belinda,
Okay.
are there any roles in particular that you are looking to tap when it comes to membership? Like as we look around, are you looking for teachers? Are you looking for administrators? What are you looking for?
Yeah, so currently the two positions that I'm aware of that are open is a post-secondary equity and diversity staff member, and then also a CTE administrator. So those are the two positions that I'm aware of currently that are open. But again, Kaylani, that will probably depend upon folks getting in touch with me and letting me know who may or may not be continuing on the council. But then I will have more of a list for you all to see which representation we might be looking for. So once we get to that point, I'll have a bit more of an idea of what we would be looking for. Thank you for that. I just, again, didn't want to put the cart before the horse before I knew whether folks would be returning or not. So I don't know the full answer to that yet. Hopefully that would be it. So hopefully we're only, so if you know of any administrators, keep thinking of that. And if you know of anybody in the post-secondary arena that happens to be involved in equity and diversity, those are two positions that are currently tentatively available. Thanks for that question, but I will provide you with more information on that to come. All right. Well, before we jump into the next piece, why don't I give everybody just a really quick 5-minute break to go ahead and get something to drink or do a bio break while I shift gears into our next piece where we're going to go over the CTE state plan retrospective from the past year. So I'll give you about 5-minute break. It's 9:37. So if everybody can be back at 9, let's just say 9:45, that's pretty even number. Welcome back, everyone. So our first meeting that we had last year at this time, we had Donna O'Kelly come and provide us with an overview of the retrospective from year 1 of our CTE state plan. And now we're going to do a retrospective of year 2 of our CTE state plan. We're going to do a little differently than we did last time. And I first just want to thank Jen Beachy for helping me gather all of this wonderful information for you all and putting it into this lovely format of this slideshow. We're also going to be posting these one-pagers on our website as well. if they aren't already. But those will be available for more perusal. But we wanted to give folks a bit of an opportunity to kind of dig into at least one of the areas a bit more and have conversation with someone else about them, and just sort of kind of talk through them and provide feedback and thoughts, and also let us know maybe what's missing, because we will have an opportunity to sort of redo these and to kind of update our state plan in the next year or so. So I'm just gonna share my screen, and again, I will not be able to see chat once I do that. So if somebody could help me if there's any questions or things that pop up as I'm presenting, but it's mostly you all getting a chance to talk about these things and to look at some of the accomplishments and the goals for the upcoming year. So I will go ahead and share my screen. Right. Can you all see that? Can somebody give me a thumbs up? I can only see, thank you, Kaylani. I can say I can only see like 2 faces. All right, I'm gonna start the slideshow. Okay, so again, this is the CTE state plan retrospective. We're hoping to do this each year, so folks can get an idea of what we were able to accomplish within the last year, both state level and local level. And we get these accomplishments from our state plan action teams, as well as our Perkins local applications. So just a really quick, another plug, I keep mentioning it, but if you aren't already subscribed to the CTE network update, this is a way that we get out a lot of information around things that are going on across the state. So I would just encourage you to subscribe to that if you haven't already. And that link up there in the right-hand corner that says subscribe is a link that will directly take you directly to that. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but it's always helpful to have a quick reminder of the power of CTE and how students who participate in sometimes only 1 year of CTE have higher attendance rates. They're 25% more likely to graduate. They're equally likely to attend college, and they end up earning a higher income after graduation. Just a kind of a reminder of what the state plan was created for. Again, it was a 4-year plan and it underlined the importance of the collaboration, coordination, and the value of engagement of partners across the systems. And it provides us with a strategic plan and broad goals to achieve that plan. And then again, we kind of break it down into those action teams to create steps to achieve those goals. And together, these form the foundation of our work. So just a quick reminder of our vision for CTE. So this is what we're hoping that our action teams will help us realize. And the vision is that Oregon will reimagine and transform learner experiences in order to enhance their future prospects, empower their communities, and ensure equity in an inclusive, sustainable, innovation-based economy. So our 4-year plan focused on 3 main goals. Goal 1 was to integrate career-connected learning more centrally in Oregon schools. Goal 2 was to increase equitable access and inclusion in high-quality CTE and career-connected learning activities. And Goal 3 was to expand transparency and the voices contributing to our career preparation system. So again, these are our Oregon CTE state plan priorities. We have an action team that is based on each of these 7 priorities. And basically what you all are going to do is dig a little deeper in groups into some of these priorities. So what I'm going to do is randomly assign you all to a breakout room that corresponds to one of the CTE state plan priorities. And I'll give you a breakdown of what room corresponds to which priority in a minute. And then I'm hoping that you guys will spend a few minutes reading the 3 slides that correspond to that priority that go over the 2021-2022 accomplishments, as well as the action team's goals for this year. So the goals for 2022-23. And then I'm hoping that you will talk with your group and discuss your thoughts around both the accomplishments and the goals, and then give us your thoughts around what might be missing, other considerations, things that you think maybe we should be looking at. And then I do have a Jamboard for you to capture your thoughts. Your group breakout room thoughts so that we can capture all those things, especially the areas that you feel are missing or would like us to address. And then if you can identify a spokesperson for your group, it won't be hard because there's probably only going to be like 2 or 3 of you in a group. So, but if you can identify a spokesperson to sort of just share out to the larger group about what you guys discussed in your groups. So this is how the breakout rooms will play out. So just pay attention as you get a message from me as I open up the breakout rooms. Just pay attention to which room you are getting assigned to, because then that will correspond to the priority that you will be talking about. And again, these slides are linked in the agenda in case you missed that. And we can also help you if you have a question. And then here's the Jamboard link here. The Jamboard link is also in the agenda as well. But after you've had a chance to sort of read through those as a group and then have some discussion and add your thoughts, we'll come back as a larger group and discuss each of them. I'm going to stop sharing and see if anybody has any questions before I send you. Thank you for putting those links in the chat, Jen. Do we have any questions before I send you to your breakout rooms? There we go. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you had robust conversations. If we could just go through and sort of share some of the highlights from your group discussion. We don't have to go in any particular order, but if folks do want to jump into the Jamboard, so that they can see what others, what other comments folks have made, because you might also want to include some comments during this portion of the discussion as well. Is there any group that would like to share their thoughts with us first?
I will. It's Megan. I was group 1, so kind of makes sense. So we were educator recruitment and retention, and we thought that the goals and the accomplishments matched what we see on the ground, which is going back to in-person meetings and also expanding mentoring to avoid burnout and help support getting new teachers into the pipeline. Am I doing what you want, Melinda?
Yes.
And then we identified some, so thought those were great. The accomplishments so far solid. We recognize that right now, a lot of high schools are really facing teacher shortages. There's a lot of subs needed. And so it's really hard to, both on the teachers to make time for professional development, which of course then leads to more burnout. And then also it's just hard to release a teacher to go somewhere when you might be needing 15 subs that day for your high school. So, so recognize the importance of it, and then just the challenges. And then we were talking a lot about how recruiting CTE teachers is challenging both at the community college level and at the high school level. So when we talk about ideas of like, do we have adjunct faculty from the community college that can go down and support teachers in the high schools? It's challenging. We talked about expanding more industry partnerships with as a teaching platform, and that it's hard to get new people into the CTE high school pathways when they have barriers like childcare and personal things that block their ability to do that. I feel like that reflected our group pretty well. Larry, Jenna?
Yeah, the lack of service sector infrastructure development was sort of like bemoaning the loss of the Build Back Better, our section of the Build Back Better bill, right? That would have helped us in all of the service sector.
All right. Thank you. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next. Oh, well, okay, I'll go next. We were the work-based learning group. And I think we felt as though we felt good about the accomplishments and the goals. And so there wasn't anything to talk about in particular for those, but there were a couple of cautions, I guess, or advice in that work-based learning is broader than the than just the school systems, and so there was a desire to have alignment with other partners in the system, both both in terms of post-secondary and other training providers, but also in terms of other things like the apprenticeship programs and BOLI and all of those kinds of things. So we felt alignment was important, and then also equity needs to be top of mind for all of the work that goes on with work-based learning, and sort of a deep expanded look at equity and ensuring that we had the programs that actually served the communities, serve them well. So I don't know, did I capture everything, Barb and Celia? So that was us.
I did have one quick question, just the big DICE thing. I was wondering if that, just for folks who are going back through and looking at these notes, what does that stand for something, or?
Clay, do you want me to take that one?
Yeah.
So that was something that I shared with our group, Melinda, and a lot of conversations at higher ed are having or are including culture. So instead of it being just a diversity, equity, inclusion, it would be diversity, inclusivity, culture, and equity. And the reason why I bring it up and the reason why it's an important component is because one of the things that we miss at times is the various cultures that we are encountering. And I think we should consider what does that entail? I mean, to learn about it, to educate ourselves. And then as well as to, honor and respect and identify how that affects our work base and how it affects upcoming students, how it affects our higher education opportunities, and then how it affects work. I shared with Barb and Clay, I sit as a board of trustee for Oregon Institute of Technology, and Gout Galporpor, who is the chair for Oregon Business Summit, is one of the board of trustees. And he's made it quite evident to us that a lot of the workforce that is, around us, that a lot of people don't take the time to honor their culture as well. And so I wanted us to, it's food for thought. It's also, for us to, as, being in secondary and post-secondary education, to make ourselves aware of, that part of, the equity and equitable opportunities. And, just wanted to kind of share it out as well when we start looking at work-based learning.
Thank you for that. That would be very, very helpful as we're trying to share these notes back with those action teams. Thank you.
I'll volunteer group number 7. We were Career Connected Learning with Adam Randall. Adam has graciously agreed to be our spokesperson. Thank you, Adam. But I want to preface that by saying we got into such a wonderful, exciting discussion about the cool things that are happening at Henley High School that we didn't spend an inordinate amount of time putting our stickies in the right columns, but I think that's okay. And I will send it over to Adam.
Awesome. Carla, this is like a 2-hour presentation. So how do you fit it in 3 minutes? All we can speak to is what we know out here in Klamath. And so as far as accomplishments for clear exploration at Henley High School, Henley Middle School, we have 100% of our 8th graders, 9th graders, 10th graders, 11th graders, and 12th graders taking U Science. In 8th grade, they do testing and analysis for a week with tying it back to all the 7 CTE programs we have at Henley High. And 2 weeks later, they come for an all-day CTE day at the high school where they rotate through 12 stations, getting to know our CT teachers and kids, and 2 weeks later they forecast. And so we use youth science pretty extensively through recruiting and retention efforts. With the 9th, 10th, and 11th graders, and even the 12th graders, you're just checking in like, hey, is this engineering pathway working for you? No. Okay, let's look at your youth science results. Let's redirect you to Health Ox or, one of the other pathways that we offer. And what's really been a pleasant surprise is our junior English teachers, we weren't going to test our juniors. And so the junior English teachers, they wanted a part of this. They had a 2-week-long professional writing unit, resumes, cover letters, cold emails, cold calls, interviews, and they've turned it into a 2-month unit on professional writing, using the youth science testing analysis as a way to jumpstart that. So people are always talking about how do you get CT and core classes to work together. Well, they found a way to do it on their own. And we've typically done all our youth science testing in social studies and English classes, but this year our science teachers want to be part of it. And so we're going to move some of the testing there. And it's been a really good way to jumpstart our senior project, and start some really authentic projects that mix core classes with our CT classes. So that's super fun. And then as far as career exploration, there's a small fledgling group out here called KBCCI, or Klamath Basin Career Connections Initiative. And we found that a couple different schools, businesses were kind of trying to go out on their own, trying to find internships, job shadows, or actual jobs for kids, and employers wanting the same thing. Kind of like a small town where all the different sports teams are out trying to fundraise, and each business gets hit up 30 times by 30 different groups. We wanted to avoid that. So now our city school district, our county school district, the community college, and our local business groups, kind of like Economic Development Council, Chamber, and Optimus, Kiwanis, you name it. We're all kind of working together to have an organized approach to get some more actual work-based learning opportunities for our kids in town and get better employees. So that's kind of what's going on in rural Klamath County.
Awesome, thank you. I know there's a lot of great work going on across the state. Did you guys happen to get to any other considerations and things that you guys might want us to think about as we move into the next year around career exploration or career connected learning at all?
No, we didn't get that far. I recognize that Linda was the person who emails me a lot of things for our REVITE grant. So we started talking about our REVITE grant. We apologize.
No worries. If things do come up, I mean, I know there's wonderful work already going on, but if there's anything that does come up as as you're going through the year, let us know.
It was a fortuitous pairing, so it was good. Thank the random gods.
I love it when a plan comes together. All right, who would like to go next?
I guess I'll go next. I was paired up with Jan on the high quality programs of study. Good morning, everybody. I'm I think one of the few non-educators maybe on the call. I'm the general manager of a heavy manufacturing company, so I guess I looked at some of this stuff through my lens. Loved the fact that there was lots of collaboration on the accomplishments. Was just curious on, maybe it just said that conversations took place, and I was just curious on maybe if there was a way to quantify that, as far as, when you're stating your accomplishments. I love the start on the alignment of CTE, high quality. I love that, programs of study, and that single system accomplished. That's amazing. That was really great. So I love that. Probably thoughts before I talk about goals, but maybe the other considerations, I would just, my thought would be just keep going on the alignment, rigorous alignment, maybe, just to really make sure that we've the right CTE high quality programs of study are available. And even, something where, what's Oregon known for? For example, I love to hear about that program being launched next year on natural resources. Again, just, what are some of the things that if we were going to pick that, to really try to push through, you know, and where they have really that true Oregon flavor, would maybe be just a thought that I put out there. And then just wondered on, it said that there was training was given, webinars and training, and that's great, but I always wonder how effective that was. You know, there's a difference between, well, we trained 100 people, but if 99 people left and they really weren't quite sure that they were trained yet, that how effective was that? So it's kind of nice to quantify that. Again, just for, especially when we're putting it out there as accomplishments. On the goals for 22-23, kind of thought this, and this is again just my thought, I kind of thought goal number 1 read more like a mission statement than not a goal. Again, putting some metrics in there, you know, how many programs, how will it be measured, just being a wee bit more specific there. And that may not be possible, but it just read kind of warm and fluffy to me. Not very, a goal to me is that, you know, I'm going to shoot at it. It's a target. So, and then number 2, the tangible manner, we love the goal. Just the phrase tangible manner, it just seemed a bit vague and subjective. But I didn't really, we didn't come up with a better, so we just talked about that phrase, but didn't necessarily offer you something in it for that. And then goal number 3, just being more specific on the number, maybe again, as a goal, should maybe have some specifics. How many do exist? Is the plan really to just add or improve those, expand those, or is it to add more? So just again, a wee bit of clarity there, but overall love the goals.
Awesome, thank you. And just so you know, like I said, I want to reiterate, we're going to take these back to the action team. So your feedback will be received. So, all right. Who's next?
So we had flexible learning, and I'm just kind of learning what CTE really is all about. So this was actually really helpful for me to kind of go through some of these things and understand. I work for County Oregon. And so we work with families who have kids with disabilities. So I always look through it through that lens of how do, you know, what does equity, you know, mean for families, you know, who have kids who experience disabilities of all different kinds. So a lot of my comments were about that because that's always on my mind. But as far as the accomplishments, I love that students were able to work in their communities during the wildfires and be able to help. And I think what a great opportunity to just learn to love and appreciate where you live by helping and serving other people. So I think that's awesome. And then using blended approaches in the future. So just kind of thinking of different ways of making that equitable for everybody. Flexible learn. Let's see, we talked about thoughts for the goals. So there. It says, oh, well, and this is one of the things that I was thinking in regards to the work group and working on the wildfires and stuff is that, you know, if we reach out to families who have kids with disabilities, I think they're a group that is often forgotten. And, you know, I know with my son, he doesn't use any verbal language, but if you just model what you need him to do, he can do almost anything. And so I think that with a little bit more of creativity and really talking to parents and really finding out what support needs to be needed, they can do any of these jobs, you know, and especially if we're talking about specialized technical jobs or things like that, where they may or may not want to go to full college, but they would be able to kind of zero in on a specific thing. So I just thought that would be kind of a good thing to really just think about that and what would that take. I always feel like there's a way to do it. We just have to figure it out. And parents are a great gateway for that. Let's see, proactive advising when kids get to high school so that they, it's more than a suggestion. So CTE, you know, making sure that it's more than just saying, hey, this is available if you're interested. How do we proactively let them know what it is? And maybe on a regular basis, kind of have something reminding them of the benefits that it can have and how having something like this on a resume or a college application can really help in the future so that it's not just a club. That's one of the things we put on our thing as other considerations is making sure that it's not just a fun little thing to join, but that it really has some proactive benefits that can help in the future. Back in the day, we taught, I don't know if it's the same thing, but we were talking, Margaret and I were talking that my husband went to ROP and they bought an entire cul-de-sac and he learned from the ground up how to build a foundation, how to do plumbing, how to do electrical, how to do, framing, all that stuff. And this kind of seems like something that's very similar that hasn't been around for a long time. So there's a lot of benefits. Let's see. And then I was also thinking of, is it possible to maybe bring in vocation rehabilitation for some of the kids that may need a little bit more job training or training in that process to help kids learn how to do this and to really benefit from CTE. Because they're utilizing that anyway, or should be, and so we could bring it into this process as well. And so just really thinking outside the box and making it equitable. Let's see. The other thing we were thinking too is really having a clearly outlined process as to how you get started in this. So once it's suggested, what are the steps? You go to your counselor, you do this, maybe the top 5 steps to kind of get it going so that kids, because sometimes when they just hear it at school, it's an opportunity, they think about it, but then it's gone. And then, so what do you do to get started? And sometimes that process can be a little daunting. And so just letting them know, here's the first 5 steps you can do to get started in this process and really start to benefit from it. And then maybe that's easier for families to kind of picture what that would look like. I think that was about it. But yeah, I just think it's kind of exciting to think of the things and the goals for the future. So. Margaret, was there anything else? You feel like that kind of covered it? Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Do we have, I think, at least one more?
I think we can go next. Kyle and I had data literacy and accountability. And we talked, I talked as someone who uses a lot of these systems. The new CTE information system is awesome. It's way more user-friendly than any previous systems. Look at a SurveyMonkey and the paper forms we used to scan in. Way user-friendly. There's still quite a few, I think, bugs to work out. But I also think that the ODE folk working on that are well aware of them and are working with IT department on that. But the feedback that I've gotten from the administrators at the school level is that it's so much easier to navigate than anything that we've previously had. So kudos to y'all. The data repository, that feedback is not as positive. It is hard to access. It is not very user-friendly. And in some ways, the feedback that I've gotten from my admins is that it's data talk written by data people for data people. So it's not always the easiest for them to understand. And then also they all struggle with being able to access it on a regular basis. Sometimes they can get in, sometimes they can't. And then the data dashboards that the goals refer to, are those the Ed Northwest Tableau data well, that was the question. We weren't sure exactly which data dashboards you were talking about. There is some data dashboards that Ed Northwest put together in Tableau that are beautiful. They're really, really pretty. They're not terribly program friendly because the data is not at the program level. So you can kind of look at it at the district level and at the school level, but the categories are aggregated. So when teachers are looking at it to make program improvements, they can't actually see the data for their own programs. They can see data across programs under different subject area. So it's not super user friendly. They would love to see something more regularly accessible at the program level. And then we looked at the goals. We really thought that the first was good and the second as well. Maybe needed a little bit more information about the third. The third is about improving data quality. What does that mean and what does that look like, in quality in what way? And then we absolutely took a right turn and started talking about work-based learning.
It was a great conversation though.
It was a great conversation. And we've figured out what we need. But I won't reiterate that conversation because a lot of which was already covered in the work-based learning group. But I think that's everything.
Brood number 2 never went. Nor did we pick a spokesperson yet. Does anybody want to?
Well, you just started talking, you can just continue.
I know, I realized that. I didn't want us to get left out, but I also didn't want to take over. If either of the rest of you want to do it, chime in now. Otherwise, here I'll go. I'm being quiet. Okay. All right. So we had equity and civil rights, and I'm just gonna run in order here. We celebrated that, and we think we should celebrate that we hired CCL navigators, and forgive me for not remembering the names of the work-based learning people and the other. There's several positions that have been posted and in the middle of being hired and happening around the state right now to help further this work, and so we're excited about that. We are also knowing that U-Science captures aptitudes and interest, and that aptitudes are not based on any personal demographic of the person, just their talents and skills, their natural gifts, regardless of any other demographic. We felt like that is something to celebrate because we have over 200 schools. I know that it was mentioned earlier that there was over 100. I think that's at the middle school level. And so when we take a look at that, this is happening at the middle school and the high school, we have over 200 schools on the list right now that have either already got their U-Science or in the process of starting to deliver those U-Science aptitude assessments in the schools. That's something to celebrate. And then we moved over to thoughts for the 22-23 goals. And we talked about the need or the possibility of being able to integrate teaching, putting learning outcomes such as teaching equity as a learning outcome specifically, and someone else might need to chime in and clear this up for me because I'm making a mess of it. Specifically equity in that field. I think we were talking about like talking about equity as a learned outcome and having that at the post-secondary level is where we talked about that. We also talked about how while we talk about accessibility and recruiting, that we need to further talk about retention and if we're talking about how to recruit and make more accessible for all people, how are we making that culture applicable and a welcoming place to stay later on? So because we're noticing that we're recruiting, but maybe they're not staying. So how do we take care of that? And I think that needs to be a fuller conversation. Making CTE experiences culturally relevant and responsive so that youth and young adults of color feel represented in the curriculum and want to stay in them. So that's I guess rounds out that rest of that conversation. Interests, other considerations. Rosa is interested in working with HEC. Rosa, I know we didn't put your name on there, but I'm calling you out. Rosa says, put me in there to work with HEC to review outcomes for all CTE equity aligned.
I don't need to be the one that in there. I just think that the HEC, I think they're already working on it. I think they have a diversity team that are working on it, but it is that notion of, we spent a lot of time talking, making sure the curriculum is culturally relevant, and that when we're talking a lot about awareness and recruitment and outreach and communication, but we're talking about putting people into existing boxes and not talking about changing the box to make them more culturally relevant. And that was basically, and we had some really good examples from our team, from women in engineering and women in STEM, and really uncomfortable experiences that people have had where the box was not culturally relevant and they had to conform or get out. And I think that if we're not talking about changing the learning outcome of our program, if we're not expecting because access is not the same as having culturally relevant learning outcomes, right? But it does make it more like people are going to retain more if it's relevant, right? And that's true in the workforce as well, in the work field. Just like we had to change work, employers had to rethink things when millennials joined the workforce. You know, you have to rethink who is out there and who you're wanting to be in your environment. And so it's not just awareness, it's not just recruitment, it's not just marketing. It is literally rethinking the box that we're delivering, both the curriculum and the workspace.
And I think with Rosie, you did such a good job communicating about that. One of the examples of that is a person can grow up in an environment where they're encouraged and they're thriving and it's working well. And then and I'm just thinking about all of you, all of everybody here is probably doing their best to make those environments for all students and all people welcome and to be able to thrive, not just survive, but thrive. And then there are scenarios where maybe the culture is not that way. And so then a person gets put in that scenario. Even the person who is strong and has a voice and is able to communicate and even perform very well in the job, if the culture doesn't see them as relevant or doesn't see them as having a valuable voice, then even that strong person can get dismissed enough that they decide, you know what, this isn't the right place for me. I'm going to go work somewhere else.
So for tangibility, it would be great if the HEC and the CTE, that committee really put a real emphasis on when all those applications are coming in for new CTE programs, that there was an expectation in the learning outcomes themselves, not just the questions about how are you targeting or recruiting these populations, but let's see it within the learning outcomes, cultural relevancy within the learning outcomes.
Sorry, I was just writing a sticky note to add to that in that section so that I didn't forget that. I've been trying to capture as much as I can to be able to share this information with the rest of the crew. Sorry, so it took me a second to finish that sticky note. Does anybody have any? I think we've got all the groups now. Did we get everybody? I think. Does anybody have any other comments about things that folks said in relation to any of those 7 priorities? Okay. Well, I just wanted to thank you all for your conversation and wonderful input. Again, I wanted to make sure you were aware that I will be sharing these thoughts with the action teams. We'll address it at our next state plan implementation team meeting, and we'll talk about those things. And then state directors were also aware of these thoughts and considerations as well as we're moving forward. Because this is another sort of planting the seeds that I wanted to kind of mention, is that we, we'll take your feedback. I mean, that's what you guys are here for, is to provide us with feedback, and you help us kind of redirect things and make sure we're addressing all the things that we should be addressing. And so we are going to have an opportunity to do some additional community engagement. We'll have a time frame where we will be doing our state plan revision / update, and we hope that you guys will have continued participation and engagement with us on that development, so that you guys can be part of our next round of updates as well. So just wanted to kind of plant those seeds there. I'll let you know about the opportunities as they arise, but we're hoping that you all will participate and help us to shape what CTE will look like in Oregon. Are there any other last comments about this topic? All right. Does anybody have any announcements or good of the order, things that they would like to share with the group? Celebrations or upcoming things that you want to tell folks about?
This is Megan. I just report that our Chemeketa pre-apprenticeship programs are really seeing good results. So we have some Future Ready Oregon funding and funding from BOLI ATD. And this summer we had 25 people participate, 23 complete, and several of them are already registered as apprentices and have completed. The majority, 19 were people of color and multiple females. So it's been really gratifying to build a program and put the time and a lot of time into it and actually see it paying off. And we have a new cohort right now of 19 pre-apprentices working their way through the program. And then we're planning for OSCI at the prison. And so these are recent, most of our so far have been recent high school graduates, or some folks still under 18. But this is the first time we were going to do this workforce development in the correctional institution. And one of the requirements is that people have finished their GED through some of our, additional programming, or they have a diploma. So it's just been really rewarding to do the work and see the results and see students who just graduated from high school. I saw my group making, $45 an hour doing prevailing wage work on sheet metal jobs. So I'm really proud of the work, and I'm hoping for sustained funding because it is a lot of money for 1 year. And then if the money just totally goes away, it's going to be a challenge to, we've built some expectations up. So.
That's great, Megan. Thank you. Anyone else have anything they'd like to share? All right. Well, I'll give you a little bit of time back to your day, and just look for communication and probably a calendar invite from me once I sort of get with the leadership team and just sort of set out what our next year's meetings might be and whether or not we will try to have one in person and which one that would be. And what location. Again, we might try to see if we can piggyback like you guys suggested with another meeting. So we might see if some of you are going to be attending the Oregon ACTE, we can at least get together and at least hang out with each other if we can't necessarily have a full-blown meeting. But so just kind of keep that on the horizon. And I look forward to chatting with several of you in other capacities about other CT related things. Enjoy the rest of today's Wednesday. Sorry. Sometimes conferences just, your days get a little mixed up. But anyway, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Appreciate all of your feedback and all the work that you do to support CTE in Oregon.
Excellent job. Nice job.
Thank you. I was so worried that I was gonna that my internet was gonna go down like right in the middle of all that.
Oh my God. Are you staying another day or are you heading home today? Oh no, you're heading home tomorrow.
Hold on, let's see. You want to